Al Capone died of cardiac arrest, his brain ravaged by syphilis in a Florida mansion. His name, a warning. John Gotti died in a prison hospital, a cheap gown replacing his expensive suits. Dutch Schultz was shot in a restaurant and died a day later in a hospital bed, babbling incoherencies. Most mob bosses end this way. Their stories are simple arcs of violence that bend back to destroy them. But Vito Corleone, the most powerful of them all, died differently. He died in his garden, among tomato plants, playing with his grandson. This was not luck. It was the result of a psychological architecture, a set of unbreakable rules that governed his every move. This code was the delta between Vito and the men who ended in a cell or on a curb. Once you understand this code, you will see power not as a story, but as a mechanism. Today, we dissect that mechanism. These are the 8 unbreakable rules that allowed Vito Corleone to build an empire and, more importantly, to keep it. Rule 1. Trade in a currency stronger than money. The first rule in the Corleone Code is the most fundamental. It operates on a plane where money is irrelevant. The rule is this: trade in a currency stronger than money. Trade in the currency of favor. Vito understood that money is transactional. It ends an obligation. A favor, however, creates a system of indefinite debt. It plants a seed of loyalty that can be harvested at any time. This mechanism is put on display in the opening scene of The Godfather. It is the day of his daughter's wedding, and according to the laws of his world, no Sicilian can refuse any request on his daughter's wedding day. Into his office comes the undertaker, Amerigo Bonasera. Bonasera's daughter was beaten, the perpetrators unpunished. He seeks justice, but he makes a critical error. He offers money.
"I'll give you anything you ask,"
he says. Vito's reaction is not greed. It is deep personal offense. He turns his back. He admonishes Bonasera not for requesting violence, but for attempting to turn their relationship into a commercial transaction.
Bonasera. What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully?
Vito is not selling a service. He is offering entry into a system of mutual obligation. He rejects the cash and demands something far more valuable: friendship, loyalty.
Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me.
Vito states. By refusing payment, he converts Bonasera from a customer into a long-term strategic asset. The undertaker leaves with a lifelong debt. This debt is later called upon not for a crime, but for a service only Bonasera can provide: to use his skills on the body of Vito's murdered son, Sonny. True power is not held in a bank. It is held in a network of loyalties. Money can be lost, but a man who owes you his very sense of justice, that is a currency that never devalues. Rule 2. Never act on emotion. The world of The Godfather is a crucible of passion. In such an environment, emotional control is not a virtue. It is a primary weapon and a vital shield. This is the second unbreakable rule: never act on emotion. Vito Corleone's passion is a tool, channeled into a cold, deliberate calculus. His calm is his armor. The catastrophic consequences of emotional incontinence are demonstrated through his eldest son, Sonny. Sonny is a whirlwind of emotion, impulsive, reckless, and uncontrollably angry. His anger is a liability his enemies exploit with deadly precision. Consider the meeting with Virgil Sollozzo. Sollozzo proposes a partnership in narcotics. Vito is calm, reasonable, and strategic. He weighs the long-term risks to his political protection against the short-term profit and declines. During this negotiation, Sonny, unable to contain himself, interjects, revealing his interest. It is a small slip, a momentary information leak. Later, Vito delivers a chilling reprimand.
Never tell anybody outside the family what you're thinking again.
Vito understands that Sonny's emotional transparency has painted a target on the family. It signals to Sollozzo that if the father is removed, the son is a willing partner. Contrast this with Vito's conduct after the attempt on his life and after the brutal murder of Sonny. A lesser man would be consumed by rage. Vito remains preternaturally calm.
Fred, are you ready to do me the service?
Yes?
He does not declare war. He calls a meeting of the 5 families. His public grief is a mask for his private calculations. He subsumes his personal agony for the sake of the family's survival. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of strategic patience. Sonny saw an insult and responded with rage, leading him into a fatal ambush.
Son of a bitch! What's the matter?
Vito saw the same provocations, but in the space he created with his self-control, he found strategy. Rule 3: build a fortress around your family. In Vito's world, institutions are corrupt and laws are malleable. The one anchor is family. The third rule is to build a fortress around your family, for the family is the fundamental unit of power. This rule dictates his entire operational philosophy. He tells Johnny Fontaine,
You spend time with your family?
Sure I do.
Good. Because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
this is not fatherly advice, it is a strategic assessment. A man disloyal to his own blood cannot be trusted. The entire enterprise is called the family, a deliberate choice of language that elevates business associates to the level of kin. This principle dictates his most critical business decision, the refusal to enter the narcotics trade. The other dons see only profit. Vito sees the corrosive effect it will have on his fortress. He states,
But they wouldn't be friendly very long if they knew my business was drugs instead of gambling, which they regard as a harmless vice, but drugs is a dirty business.
this is not a moral judgment. It is a strategic decision. He understands the drug trade would breach the walls he built around his children and make his ultimate ambition impossible, the family's ascent to legitimacy.
Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone.
That was the long game. The fortress, however, becomes a prison. Vito's tragedy is realizing that the very structure he built to protect his children has become a cycle of violence they are condemned to inherit. But the principle is absolute. In a world of uncertainty, your greatest strength lies in the loyalty and unity of the people you call your own. Rule number 4. Speak softly, but prepare the cannoli. Popular culture imagines power as loud and boastful. Vito's power is different. It is quiet, restrained, and often invisible until the moment of its application. This is the 4th rule. Speak softly, but ensure the instruments of force are always ready. Or, as it's known in the Corleone world, speak softly, but prepare the cannoli. This rule is a synthesis of diplomacy and lethality. Vito understands that violence is a blunt instrument, a last resort. His preference is always for diplomacy, for reason. He is known as a reasonable man, a reputation he carefully cultivates. This soft speech, however, is effective only because it is backed by a universally understood capacity for ruthless violence. The "prepare the cannoli" half of the rule is a reference to one of the most chilling lines in the film. After an execution, the capo Clemenza says,
"Leave the gun. Take the cannoli."
The murder is treated as a mundane errand. For the Corleone family, violence, when necessary, is not a passionate outburst, but a cold, professional task. The horsehead in Jack Woltz's bed is the ultimate expression of this rule. Woltz, a powerful studio head, scoffs at initial negotiations. He fails to understand that Corleone's power operates on a different, more primal level. The severed head is not a threat. It is a statement. It is a communication, delivered in a language that transcends words, of what will happen to Woltz himself if he does not comply. It is the big stick made manifest, used only after speaking softly had failed. Vito's power was enduring because everyone knew he could destroy them. He simply chose to reason with them first. The unspoken threat is always more powerful than the overt one. Rule 5. Let your reputation do the heavy lifting. There is what you can do, and then there is what people believe you can do. The space between is where reputation lives. For Vito Corleone, it was his most powerful asset. The 5th rule is this: let your reputation do the heavy lifting. Direct action is costly and inefficient. A well-cultivated reputation, on the other hand, works for you while you sleep. Vito's reputation was meticulously crafted. He was reasonable, he was a man of his word, and he was capable of absolute ruthlessness when crossed. We see this in the first act. The supplicants on his daughter's wedding day are there because they have heard the stories. They are acting on the legend of the man. The most potent demonstration is Johnny Fontaine. The singer needs a film role from a hostile studio head, Jack Woltz. Vito does not fly to Hollywood. He says with utter certainty,
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
This is not a plan. It is a statement of fact based on the power of his name. He dispatches his consigliere, Tom Hagen, as an emissary. Hagen is there simply to invoke the Don's reputation. The name Corleone changes the atmosphere in the room. Woltz knows what it represents. Vito himself doesn't need to be present. His reputation does the work for him. In the modern world, this is the power of brand. Vito Corleone spent decades building his. By the time he was the godfather, his power was based on the collective belief in his power. It was his most formidable weapon. Rule 6. Master the art of the long game. In a world of short-term thinking, the ability to look beyond the horizon is a superpower. Vito Corleone's empire was not built on quick profits. It was the result of strategic patience. The 6th rule: master the art of the long game. Vito thinks in decades, not days. He plays a multi-generational game of chess. While his son Sonny is focused on the immediate insult, Vito is focused on the 100-year plan. To see the Corleone family become a legitimate part of American society. He sacrifices immense short-term profit from the narcotics trade for the sake of this vision. This strategic patience is most evident after the attempt on his life. His instinct is not for immediate revenge. That is the short-term play. Instead, he orchestrates a peace summit. To his rivals, he appears weakened. In reality, he is buying time, assessing his enemies, and protecting his son, Michael. His long-term goal is not to win the battle, but to win the war. He knows the final victory will be Michael's, not his. He sacrifices the satisfaction of personal vengeance for the assurance of his family's ultimate triumph. Mastering the long game requires two things: vision to see the future you want to create, and discipline to make the necessary sacrifices in the present. Sonny Corleone had neither. His short-term thinking led to a short life. Vito Corleone had a vision that extended beyond his own life. He played the long game. That is why his legacy endured. Rule 7. Don't make a threat, make an offer. They can't refuse. This is the most misunderstood phrase from The Godfather. It is not a euphemism for a threat. It is a principle of psychological genius. The 7th rule is this: do not threaten. Engineer circumstances so the other person's only rational choice is the one you desire. A threat is adversarial. It invites defiance. Vito's method is more sophisticated. It bypasses the emotional and appeals directly to the other party's cold calculation of their own self-interest. An offer you can't refuse has two components. First, the positive inducement, the thing the other person wants. For Jack Woltz, it was a guarantee of Union peace. But the second component is the crucial one: the negative consequence. This is what makes refusal impossible. For Woltz, it was the severed head of his prized horse, a horrifying demonstration of what could happen to him. The genius of the method is that the negative consequence is so overwhelmingly terrible that it makes the positive inducement the only rational choice. The decision is left to the other person. They are given the illusion of agency. Woltz chooses to cast Johnny Fontaine. He makes this choice because Vito has fundamentally altered his reality, stacking the deck so completely that only one logical path remains. This is not coercion. This is psychological warfare. It allows the other person to rationalize their capitulation as a sensible decision rather than a humiliating defeat. It's the art of making your desired outcome the only logical move on the board. Rule number 8. Keep your true intentions veiled. In high-stakes power dynamics, information is the ultimate currency. The one who reveals their hand first loses. The final rule in Vito's code is to keep your true intentions veiled, to be a black box, unreadable while expertly reading everyone else. Vito Corleone is a man of few words. He listens more than he speaks, gathering information, never giving away his own strategic plans. His opacity is a strength that keeps his enemies guessing. The most masterful display of this rule comes after Sonny's death, at the meeting of the 5 families. Vito enters as a diminished figure, a grieving father. He speaks of peace. He makes monumental concessions, agreeing to the drug trade as long as Michael's safety is guaranteed. On the surface, it is a complete surrender. But beneath the veil of grief, Vito is playing a deeper game. His true intention is not peace, it is survival and the eventual transfer of power. His performance lulls his enemies into a false sense of security. They see him as a spent force, and the entire meeting is a diagnostic test. He is watching. In the privacy of his home after the meeting, he confirms his true enemy to Michael.
So, Barzini will move against you first. He'll set up a meeting with someone that you absolutely trust.
He used the peace to buy time and identify his target. His final lesson to Michael is a direct instruction on reading the veiled intentions of others.
Now listen, whoever comes to you with this Barzini meeting, he's a traitor.
He knew a trap was coming and gave his son the key to see it. Vito's power was built on this asymmetry of information. He knew everything about his enemies, and they knew nothing about him. Conclusion: the code is clear. Trade in favors, not cash. Master your emotions. Build a fortress of loyalty. Speak softly, but let your unspoken power be felt. Let your reputation do the work. Play the long game. Make your goals the only rational choice for others. And through it all, keep your true intentions veiled. These were the principles that separated Vito Corleone from the common thug. While others relied on brute force, Vito wielded psychology, strategy, and unshakable self-control. His was a criminal empire built on violence. We do not forget that. The paradox is that he used these brilliant principles of power to create a world that consumed his own children. The code that secured his peaceful death was the very same code that ensured his son, Michael, would never know a moment's peace. It wasn't the men he commanded, but the code he never broke, that allowed Vito Corleone to die a king in his own quiet kingdom. It was this code that made him the Godfather. The world is governed by hidden codes. If you wish to understand them, subscribe for more analysis on the mechanisms of power, and let us know in the comments. Which of Vito's rules is the most effective weapon? Some tools are ornaments, others are instruments. A leather journal, not for writing, for recording. A fountain pen, not for signing, for committing. The Godfather trilogy, not entertainment, a masterclass in silence. Links below. Remember, every move has a cost.